and thanks for joining me. So today I thought it might be quite good fun to have a look at all my doll's houses in one place. This is the first time I've ever had them all in one place, and they're quite an impressive stash, aren't they? So I entered the miniature world about 18 months ago when I started restoring this house here. This was what I called Littlesea Villa. This is my old childhood doll's house, and it dates from about the late 1970s. But my journey originally started with this house here. Now my son, when he was about 7, had to make a Tudor house for a school project. Now, I know at school they study the Great Fire of London, which happened in 1666. And one of the things they do, and I'm sure many of you from the UK, perhaps if your children or grandchildren will know, they come home and they have a project where they have to make a cardboard Tudor house to take into school. And what I did when he made this house is I lent him all my childhood doll's house furniture to go in it. But because my son was rather enthusiastic with his school project, he sellotaped down the roof and we could never get the furniture out of it. So for years and years and years, the furniture just lived in this house. And then he got to teenage years and he was like, I don't want the house anymore. And rather fortuitously, by then, the sellotape had all disintegrated, so I was able to get the furniture out without actually destroying the house too badly. So that actually was where the journey all began, as a little project for my son. So then I literally started putting the furniture back into Littlesea Villa. It didn't have a name then, it was just my childhood doll's house. And I started putting the furniture back into it, and I thought, it was a bit dusty, had that really thick dust in the corners and what have you. So I went and got a brush, I started brushing away all the dust. And then I thought, oh, the ceiling's a bit mottled, had those little brown spots on the ceiling. I thought, I'll just get some white paint, give it a lick of paint. You can see where this is going, can't you? And then I made up some paint to go on the walls. And the walls are sort of lemon on the top floor and sort of lime on the bottom floor. So I made up some paint to go on the walls, and I painted the walls. And then made the floor look really tatty. And I don't know who had put vinyl on the floor, but it didn't fit at all. It was really badly cut, so goodness knows who did that. So I relaid some flooring for the floor. Now, one of the things that always really bothered me as a child is this wall here didn't exist. So you had to go through the bathroom to go into the bedroom. I always found that really strange as a child. It never seemed to bother me. There was only one bed for the house, but it did bother me. You had to go through the bathroom to get to the bedroom. So we put this little wall in here with the new doorway, and I think that makes it look much more like a house. Trouble is, when we did that, and I then put the curtain rails on, so these are little curtain rails with bits of wood and little hooks. And I put the curtain rails on, and then of course the door wouldn't close, would it? So we then had to put a little hole in the wall there so the curtain rails would fit. Anyone who's watched my videos will be familiar with this house. It's a little bit faded. This is the one I keep in my window, and I theme it throughout the year. At the moment it's themed for Mother's Day, so it's got the mum of the house surrounded by all her children, but it's about to go into Easter in a minute, so I will be doing an Easter theme into that soon. Now the second house I bought was actually this one here. Now, I haven't done a video on this, so this is new to everybody. It doesn't have a name yet either. At the moment I just call it the Victorian house, which isn't very original. And it does have a front to it, but it's loose so it falls off. So that's the front, very traditional doll's house. Blue front, needs quite a lot of work doing to it. As you can see, it's a bit tatty on the outside. It's quite nice, quite grandiose, and with a roof that's also loose that opens up into the attic as well. So it's quite a nice house. As I haven't started that one yet, even though it's actually the second house I bought. So I got to the end of restoring this one, and I thought, well, I'm really enjoying this hobby. So I went off to Newmarket, or Newmarket, as our GPS seems to insist in calling it. I don't know why it can't pronounce Newmarket. So I went off to Newmarket and bought this house from a lady. And I got it home, and I thought, oh, I just don't quite know what I'm going to do with it. It's a modern house, it's nice and shiny, and I just didn't quite start on it. And then around that time, I started going to car boot sales. Now my youngest son, the son who had made the Tudor house, started enjoying going to car boot sales as well. And he collects Nerf guns and absolutely loves going to car boot sales. So we went to car boot sale and we found this one. Now this one here is Lilac Lodge. It's just got 3 rooms inside the house, and it's designed to be hung on a wall, and it's rather lovely. And I've done quite a few videos on that, so hopefully you might have watched some of those and seen those. So the fourth house I picked up was this one here, which I've named Sunnyview Villa. You might have seen some videos on this one because it's taken quite a long time to get to this stage. Now, a lady in our village was giving it away, and she basically said it was about to go to the tip if no one wanted it. And I thought, oh, well, I'll go pick it up. I'm sure I can use bits from it. Initially, I was just going to use it for parts because it was in quite a bad state. But I got it home and I thought, oh, do you know what? I reckon I can do something with that. And obviously I tried to texture the paint, so the paint had big blobs in it. So it took ages and ages and ages to sand this house down, literally ages. But I sanded it all down and I repainted it, and then I changed the roof because the roof used to just slot on over the top, but I changed it so the roof is now hinged. Even though I've got an attic room, there's some stairs in here as well that I need to fit into it, so there'll be stairs leading up into the attic. And it's now at the stage where it's ready for me to start putting the lighting in. So it's actually getting to quite an exciting stage. Now this house wasn't made from a kit, as you can see. Like this here is a kit that I believe you can still buy actually. And you buy it flat packed and you put it together yourself. This was just made from plywood from what I can work out. So someone's bought some plywood and they've made their child, their grandchild or what have you, a doll's house. That's absolutely wonderful. It's a really unusual, unique house. However, the trouble is with that, nothing in it was square. So it took ages to try and get everything in it nice and square. And of course, it doesn't matter if things aren't square when it's just a house that children are playing with. But when you're actually trying to restore it and you need to get all the carpets fitted and everything lined up, it's not quite so easy. But it is a gorgeous house and it's very unique. So I'm really looking forward to cracking on with that one. Now next, and they say this is when I get a little bit confused as to which house I then picked up next. It might have been this one here that you see on the floor. Now this is quite unusual for UK, but I understand they're very popular in America. And this is an open backed doll's house. So the back of it is completely open. Now in the UK, we tend to have front opening doll's houses. But in America, they tend to have the back opening doll's houses. And we were able to track this house down, and it was made by an American woodworker because it's got his mark on it, but he never actually exported to the UK. So we think this house, and it comes with this lovely little garage as well, which is here. I'll just pick it up so we can see it a bit clearer. Window at the back. So we think this house and the garage probably came over from one of the American families based at one of the air bases. Now we have a couple of American air bases in this area, so that's probably the most logical explanation as to how this came over. And it's very heavy, it's a very, very heavy house indeed, so I expect when they move back to America they decided not to take it with them because it's quite hefty. I think then next I picked up York House. Now I decided to name this house York House because the lady I bought it off of was called York actually, and her mother had made this house from a kit. Absolutely gorgeous. Del Prado did a magazine where they issued an issue of the magazine every week, and part of that magazine would then explain to you how you could build the next part of this house. And such patience, such dedication. I think I worked out it took about 2 years probably to make it all, and it's absolutely wonderful. I've done quite a few videos on York House, you might be familiar with this one. Then next I was given this gorgeous Lundby House down here. Now it is a Lundby House dated from about the 1970s. It's got quite a lot of damage to it, but it's pretty intact, and it's got a basement to it as well, which is quite unusual for these Lundby houses. A lady in the village was actually given that away. She was moving house and she couldn't move it because it's actually quite a big house, isn't it? It's enormous actually. So she couldn't move with it. She didn't have the room, so she was given it away. And again, no one else wanted it because it's a bit old and it's a bit tatty. And I thought, well, I can't bear to see these old houses go to the tip, so I'll pick that up too. And we're getting to the stage where there's no room for us in the house anymore. There's just full of dolls' houses. And then last but not least is this lovely little house here. This is actually called a Dolly mixture house, and they were made in the 1960s in a prison. And by the time this one was made, it was actually made by the young offenders rather than the adult prisoners themselves. And they call it Dolly mixture houses because it wasn't actually made by a brand. It looks very similar to a Triangle, some of the other brands that were made around that time, but it's not. So it was made by prisoners, and they never actually branded it as such because they thought people wouldn't buy it if they knew it had been made by prisoners. Hence, it became known as Dolly mixture houses. So I always find it really fascinating, the history of some of these houses. Well, I hope you've enjoyed having a look at all the houses with me. This is the first time I've ever had them all in one place. And I have to be honest, they're quite impressive, aren't they, even though I say so myself. I've restored 3 houses, you can see here. Done quite a lot of work on this one. Doesn't really look like it, but I have. And I've done a little bit of work on this one. I haven't touched the other houses yet, so I've got quite a lot of work ahead of me, haven't I? I have done some videos showing my progress on the houses as well. So we've done an introductory video on the open back American house, so you can see that in more detail, and it did come with a few bits and pieces of furniture. I've also done the same with the Dolly mixture house, and that came with a little bit of furniture. I haven't introduced the Victorian house yet, so that's the first time we've seen that one. I've done a video on the Lundby House where we unboxed all the furniture that came with it, so that's quite a popular video. I think people are really quite passionate about Lundby houses, aren't they? And all the wonderful designs that went into it, all the lovely 60s and 70s designs that went into them. So I've done quite a few videos on Sunnyview Villa because it's taken me quite a long time to get to this stage, and it's going to be quite an impressive house when it's all done because it's such an unusual design. York House is the house that I've just literally finished, and that's my last video showing it all finished and all ready to be put on display, and that's been in my window for the last few weeks. Done a few videos on Lilac Lodge showing my progress with that. It's one of my favourite houses. I really like Lilac Lodge. I think it's really cute. And Littlesea Villa, which started me off on my journey. And I'm about to make that all Easterfied, ready for my windows. So I like to theme it throughout the years. We've done Christmas, Easter, we do birthdays because we all have summer birthdays in our family. We've had Halloween, and at Christmas time I solder in some Christmas tree lights, and we have Christmas trees in the house as well. And I've got quite a few videos on Littlesea Villa. So this is where it all started, and this is my old childhood doll's house. And anyone who enjoys the miniature world like I do will know what a wonderful hobby this is. You can combine all your passions into one, you know, all those different crafting abilities that you might have, you can combine it all into one, into the miniature world, and it's a really magical world to enter. I hope you've enjoyed coming with me into my magical miniature world. So thanks for watching. Until next time. Bye bye.